everybody and welcome to the final ever Supporters Discuss. For the time being, the future remains blank for this channel. I don't know what it's going to become when everything is finished here, but in terms of big videos and actual content, this is going to be probably the last thing I'm ever going to put out under the Preston North End branding of 8-Bit Preston. Obviously this channel has been many things for the many years it's been on the internet. It started off as just some kid dicking about on video games with his friends. It turned to video game reviews. It then turned to music for a short while, back to video games. It's been all over the place, let's put it that way. But when it comes to consistency and growth, Preston North End content creation has been a breath of fresh air, not only for me but the channel, and also in terms of helping it grow. It's still not massive. I'm not gonna big anything up here. It's a small channel. But the little community we've made over the last 2 years is a really close and tight-knit one, I feel. I've made some nice, lovely friends as well during the time on, content creation. So yeah, this video is owed out to everybody that is essentially a part of what has made this little journey so special. And I thank you all for it once more. It's been amazing. Now, as far as things go, like I said, this is the last Supporters Discuss. We do have a smaller roster this time. There's not as many people getting involved, but that is completely irrelevant to me. It doesn't matter who wants to share their opinion about this and who doesn't. I'm not going to force anyone. But yeah, I'll obviously, as always, I will leave my thoughts of what I've asked these guys until the very end. These guys are going to come and share their thoughts now. Everything regarding any relevant socials for them, that being their Twitters or YouTube channels if they have them, being displayed on the screen. And yeah, I will let these guys talk, and then I'll share my opinion.
Hey guys, thanks very much to Bit for having me back on his channel. First things first, was this a successful season? See, in spite of what Hemming said in his statement the other day, no, I don't think so. The main reason I say that is because of where we were when our form dropped off. We were top, we were winning almost every game, and then we just kind of dropped off and never regained it. So I feel like for where we were, and especially how the season ended, I don't think the season was a success at all. It felt like after we dropped off, the atmosphere around the club turned to shit, really. This summer, I don't know really, because the problem is that we have certain performers within the squad. You give Reese and Keane the right service, they'll score a hatful. As my itch still, kind of getting used to being in the league, and I just think if Brown goes as well, we definitely need to get a few midfielders in, because Ali's still not fit, Whiteman's not fit, so they're kind of the only decent midfielders we've got. We need somebody else for Mads. We need to bring in a new left wing back if Miller's going back, and we need to bring in an out and out left back, not left wing back, not a winger to play as a wing back, and maybe a new goalkeeper. I don't know. I still don't dislike Woodman, so I'm not really too sure on that one. Player of the season, not one I can answer, because there were a couple of good players. Holmes was relatively good whenever he played. Keno, obviously scoring as many as he did. Reese, when he came back, was another level. Lindsay, very much a Rolls Royce this season. Miller was superb. So it's difficult to really pick just one player out of that, to be quite frank with you. Favourite moment of the season? Yeah, I think it has to be Lindsay's header at Blackburn. I wasn't there for that game, unfortunately. I couldn't go, which was really frustrating, because I'd never actually missed Blackburn whenever we played them since they've been in the Championship, so I was really annoyed at that. I also had to miss the home game too. The best one that I've witnessed, no, I can't really think of that, to be honest. Best one that I've witnessed, I'm not sure. Definitely best moment of the season has to be Lindsay's goal. I was sat in my living room watching that and was shouting as loud as I could when he scored, so am I happy with what's been introduced recently? So things like the new kits or the stadium maintenance, the gentry, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think we definitely needed to change out of Knight for starters. So I think going with Castore, who are on the up and up right now, was a relatively good move, although admittedly it's turned to shit because Castori seemed to have been useless. It's good that they're finally doing something about the stadium. It's been the same thing for decade and a half at least now, so it's. I definitely need the renovations. Bringing in the Gentry was definitely a good idea, although admittedly the one time I went in I couldn't move, so that was iffy. But generally off the pitch this season we've been quite good up until the last couple of months. Ryan Lowe's been the topic of many a conversation this season, for numerous different reasons as well. For me, so I said at halfway point through the season, you can go back and look at the video that I did for a bit halfway through the season, and I said that I wouldn't trust him after what he said about the fans and the coaching badges thing, and I still don't. I still didn't, even when we got a bit of form going. I'm still not a fan of him. I still don't like him, and even more so now after those defeats, I think he's just an arrogant prick. And he's taken us as far as he can go, and the best thing for him to do now, and the right thing for him to do, is to resign. So, my current stance on Lowe is he should go. I don't think he's going to take us any further forward than he already has.
Hey everybody, it's Aaron from the Arun Mehta Show. Lord 8-Bit once again has asked me some questions about the season for Preston North End 2023-2024, so here I am going to answer them now. Question 1. Was it a successful season? Okay, so at the very beginning of the season, I was a bit sceptical about how exactly we were going to perform, but the fact that we had such a fantastic start, and given the fact we had the best start since the 1900s, I think is probably the best thing you could say about this season. Unfortunately, just due to injuries and due to other things, we just didn't keep it up, and sadly, we fell back into the mid-table again. So I can understand why a lot of people are disappointed, because we had such a great start, and it looked like the playoffs were really going to be certain, potentially a trip to Wembley, and to see it all kind of just disappear in front of our eyes was pretty sad. But I think we've had a middle of the road season, to be honest with you. It hasn't been great, but it hasn't been terrible either, let's be honest. I think given the fact that at one point the relegation battle got so bad, I think we should be grateful that we didn't end up in that this season. Question 2. What needs to be done this summer? Given the fact that Craig Hemmings has turned around and said that his ambition is still to get Preston North into the Premier League, he's got a lot of work to do. As much as I like Freddie Woodman, I think we have to be honest here. I think he's really struggled to really maintain standards this season, and I think the problem that he has is that Di Cornell, as much as I do like him personally, I think he's always been seen as a backup keeper, not really competition for Freddie Woodman's spot. I think if we had another goalkeeper that potentially could compete for Freddie Woodman as a starting place in the first 11, I think that basically might either do two things. It'll either show Freddie Woodman that he either needs to move on, or the second thing could be that it'll energize Freddie Woodman, and he'll be able to show us all how much a great goalkeeper he can actually be. Sadly, I don't think he's really been tested this season because he's had no competition for a spot, so he's always just expected to be the first team keeper, and so maybe I think goalkeeper signing definitely is going to be needed this season. I think also we need a powerful centre-back this season. Who that's going to be, I'm not entirely sure. The type of centre-back that I like to see, unfortunately, isn't really played in the modern game anymore. And on top of that, it's very competitive to actually sign someone like, a big centre-back as well. So who that is ended up going to be, I really am disappointed that I really thought it was going to be Bauer. At some point that he was going to come into it, but unfortunately he just seems to be kind of sat on the sidelines, and there just isn't seem to be that big powerful presence I think that is on the Preston North End back line. We definitely need someone like that this season. In regards to the midfield, I do understand that they are looking at some people at the minute. I definitely think that Liam Miller definitely needs to come back and be on the wing as well, and I really hope that could eventually be a case, but unfortunately it looks like he has gone back to Basel, and it looks like he is going to move on. Whoever's going to end up being in the midfield this season is definitely going to need to be questioned. In regards to our strikers, I think Emil Rees, I think we definitely still be building a team around him. I'm hoping Leighton Stewart, hopefully, he's young right now, but hopefully as years go by, he will eventually start to come into his own. I think it's a bit early days for Leighton to really show his full potential, so hopefully he can show that next season, potentially the season after that. In regards to Osmajic, he has shown himself to be very reliable in regards to games against lower teams. Obviously he's got a hat-trick against Huddersfield Town, and I think that should be really expected. I think of a Preston North End striker, in my opinion, to be able to do these jobs, to teams that aren't necessarily on our level. So I'm really hoping that Osmajic will kind of get out of this role of being able to really be dominant against smaller teams, and then be able to show up at the big games. But so far, far he hasn't done. And also, Osmajic, I've always said, is not my type of striker that I would like at Preston North End. He really is more like a holding forward, where he would hold the ball up and then he would pass on to the strikers or fancy things for himself. And you know, he doesn't really do that. The way that Osmajic is played is like he's supposed to be there up by himself and be able to hold his own, and there's been times where he just hasn't been able to do it. And where we can blame the manager on that, or whether that's going to be Osmajic's shortcomings, I think is there's going to be a debate we're going to have next season. I do believe, though, is that if we don't necessarily get the transfer options that we want, I think we should definitely give the youngest players a chance. I mean, they've been phenomenal, the PNE Academy, this season, and they've won several trophies over the last 3 seasons. And so I think they definitely deserve it. Rodriguez Gentile definitely does deserve a chance, and there's been plenty of other young players, I think, that have been down there also, you know, definitely deserve to be in the first team squad. Whether the manager is going to pick them or not, I think is still going to remain to be seen. Question 3. Who was your player of the season? My player of the season definitely has to go to Alan Brown. I mean, a two-time player of the year now for Preston North End, and he's putting in now 400 appearances. You know, back from when he was 18 years old all the way up to now being 28. I think he's done a phenomenal job for Preston North End, in my opinion. I mean, it's a close second, I think, for me would definitely be Liam Miller. I think definitely Alan Brown and Liam Miller, I think, have definitely been players who have definitely, you know, held their own in the Preston North End squad, and they definitely could be relied upon, you know, when things definitely were looking sour. So I really hope that, you know, we'll be able to keep hold of Alan Brown, where that's still also up for a debate as well. And hopefully, maybe there might be some small opportunity that we might be able to get Liam Miller back, but if not, hopefully we can look at the quality that he's brought to Preston North End, and we can look for a player like that in the future. Question 5. Am I happy with what was introduced recently? So recently Castors came in, and I've got to be honest, I'm wearing the shirt right now, and I feel very comfortable in it. So I think, you know, I think Castor, you know, in regards to the Cert on Fini shirts, in regards to, you know, the away strips and everything, I think they have done a very good job in regards to the basic shirts, and they definitely understood the assignment in regards to Gentry Day, and also introducing other types of merchandise. Unfortunately, I think because of warehousing problems, obviously they've not been able to do everything they want to do, and also I think some of the, you know, travel wear and some of like the so-called fan wear, I think it's been a bit of a miss, really, in regards to that. And also, keep in mind, like, you know, I've still got my other Preston North End, you know, cap that I'm currently got at the moment. I mean, come on, Castor, when are the new caps going to come out? Like, you know, I want to get this one replaced. So I'm really hoping that there's going to be more, you know, Preston North End stuff that's going to be released by Castor. But, I mean, if not, I mean, there's always the Terrace Store, and the Terrace Store seems to do pretty good stuff. So I think they should definitely give them a chance at, you know, filling up the Preston North End shop with some stuff. In regards to the stadium maintenance, I mean, obviously there's still leaks around the stadium which need to be addressed. I'm hoping they're going to be addressed in the future. But from what I understand, they have done a very good job with the town end in regards to fixing the roof. So hopefully all that's been addressed. In regards to the food, I mean, I've tried some of the Sodexo stuff, and yeah, I seem to like it. And so, I mean, it is a bit pricey, the food still, so like it's not like an every week occurrence that I'll actually buy food at Preston North End. You know, I still will go out for a kebab, or I'll still go out and go get a burger somewhere else. So that, I think, still needs to be addressed. But I mean, also some of the outside food that also comes out from like the other places, I think also is pretty good as well. In regards to North End events, you know, I've really enjoyed some of the stuff that they've done, and one interesting thing that they definitely did was, you know, do a plaque for Arthur Wharton, which, you know, I've got the program here, and so I really loved this event, by the way. Like, you know, it was really interesting to learn about him, and, you know, we see the plaque unveiling as well. The one thing I missed out on, which I was a bit disappointed at, was the plaque unveiling for the founding of Preston North End. I really wish I went to that event, but unfortunately I had to work at the time, so yeah, unfortunately I had to give that one a miss. But I really wish we did more events that celebrated our history. Our history is so important. We've been a football club now for 144 years, and I think that, you know, there's a lot of history, I think, that North End fans should definitely learn about. And it kind of makes me wish that the museum was still open, you know, over at the Cop, because I really think they should. I think we definitely should have a Preston North End museum. Come on, like, you know, how amazing would that be? If a whole this museum to get it dedicated to Preston North End, and after all our years, all the century and a half that basically we've been around, don't tell me we couldn't fill it full of amazing stuff. I really think it should be a thing. Oh, I missed out on question number 4. Okay. Question 4. What was your favourite moment this season? I think my favourite moment of the season definitely has to be Liam Lindsay's goal against Blackburn Rovers. I think the fact that he came in at the very last minute and the whole away end was roaring, and I feel really bad because unfortunately, again, I had work commitments, so I couldn't go to the match, but I did manage to watch it on Sky Sports, and just seeing Liam Lindsay score that goal was just so amazing, and I think he's going to be a hero, and I think people are going to be buying beers, I think, for him for a very, very long time, I think. So, yeah, I really think that that was quite an amazing moment that we took of that season. So I think that was pretty good. One other favourite moment I think of my season was finally seeing Emil Resource return from really nasty injury. Like he'd been gone for such a long time. Like January of 2023, I think was when he got injured, and then he came back in January 2024. It's just so sad that he came in just halfway through the season. I think if we had him fully fit, I think at the very beginning of the season, who knows where we might have been. Question 6: what is your current stance on Ryan Lowe? So my current stance on Ryan right now is that he's doing just enough basically to keep us in the middle of the table, but given Craig Hemming's statement saying that he wants to bring us into the Premier League one day, I just don't believe Ryan Lowe is the person to do it. And you can see it when how he wants to be ambitious, he wants to be, try new things and things like that. But unfortunately, for where we want to be, in the next couple of years, I just don't think Ryan Lowe is the man to take us there. And I think he's going to be very good to basically crisis management and be able to keep us in the middle of the table. But in regards to taking us all the way to the Premier League, I just don't think he can do it. And we have to look at other people. And given the fact that many managers, I think unjustly, have lost their jobs, and now David Moyes has now become available, you see all these options that potentially are available to us, and you can see the potential of them taking us into the Premier League more than Ryan Lowe can. I mean, unfortunately, Ryan Lowe probably has the most unenviable task, I think, over Preston North End, and the more that things go wrong and the more that results don't go our way, unfortunately he becomes very unpopular very quickly. And somewhere down the line, I think even if we get to December and we still doesn't look like we're going to be going anywhere anytime soon, I think a question needs to be asked about whether he can take us any further forward, and right now I'm very skeptical of that. So that's my thoughts on the Preston North End season. I hope you'll continue to follow me on Arun Mehta's show. That's ARUNMEHTASHOW. And I'll see you very soon. Bye-bye for now.
On the success of the season, Preston season's been a very Preston season. And I know it's a running joke, but I do hope that if we ever get promoted, or if Bristol ever get promoted, we both go up. Because it's just funny. It's like the Fulham Norwich paradox where neither of them two can play each other, because once one goes up, one goes down, type thing. Financially, yeah, it's been a very good season for Preston, I'd say. We invested into the squad. We did spend money. We broke our transfer record. I know it's not much, but still something. And we still have, I think, just under last season's season tickets, which it was our best season in quite a while. So, 2 seasons with decent season ticket sales and investment in the squad, and money being good for North End. It was good. It's North End, but playing wise, finishing 10th, we should be happy with that. In hindsight, we should. But when we look deeper into it and break it apart, there's issues with the season, like the way we ended it, the last 5 games. No goals scored, no wins, no draws. I know we had a false start at the beginning of the season until Rotherham draw, but going off how we were at the beginning of the season, though I didn't think we played particularly well, I do think it was we could smash and grab. We fell apart at multiple times in the season. December wasn't a good time. I remember QPR was a very bad game. Sheffield Wednesday, and then I think the first half of January wasn't very good either. I know like Boxing Day was good and stuff like that, but there were just elements in the season where we just fell apart and we sat back a lot. And I put up multiple times that we'd get up 1-0 or 2-1, and then we'd sit back and then concede in the last minute. It was just annoyed. I mean, a good example was Cardiff at home. Or Southampton at home. What we should do in the summer, if we're keeping Lowe right wing back, then he can play his attacking brand. We haven't seen the attacking brand yet. Do we need a right wing back? I don't know. I don't know if he needs that, but it's what his style needs, and the way he wants to play, or the way he tells us he wants to play. I'd look at the contract situation. I don't want a repeat of Brown. I just want us to go, okay, you don't want to sign, like we're selling you. Because I think Reece is out of contract, Hughes is out of contract. These aren't players I'd necessarily sell without this stipulation. However, if they're not gonna sign on, why should we make a loss on them? We don't spend enough money anyway. We should reinvest into the squad, not at least get some money for these players. I think that's what we haven't done. I think the last big sale that we had was either Davies or Hugo. We need to reinvest that money into the squad instead of just letting players go. I think we should develop Best a bit more and make him a starting left back or left centre back and see how it goes. I personally rate him. I personally think he'll do it really well. Obviously, he's going to make mistakes and he needs to learn, and the only way he can really learn is by getting first team experience. Finally, I'd probably go for get another keeper. I'd get Iverson. I know I said that in the winter update or the December, but Woodman's not had a great season, and now, though he isn't bad, it isn't the same level as Woodman. So Woodman doesn't have much pressure. But if you get Iverson, yes, he didn't have a good time at Stoke, but when he was with us during the COVID year and the year after, he had a great 2 seasons, and I was personally a bit upset we didn't get him anyway. But yeah, I'd say go for Iverson. Player of the season. It is a weird one because there's been so many hits and misses. Brown's had his best season in quite a while. I'd probably say Lindsay, just because defensively he's been solid. We've been a defending team this season. We have sat back a lot. We have soaked up pressure, and I know we conceded a lot of goals. There's been a lot of games where we conceded 4, but he's developed as a centre back, and I mean, if Brown does go, it will go to. I'd imagine the captaincy would go to Whiteman, but I wouldn't be opposed to Lindsay getting captaincy if he's still at the club. I mean, he's the top of a lot of the statistics, and I don't like reading statistics because I don't really think that tells you the full story. But considering how much we soak up pressure and sit back, it's got to mean something that is relatively high in statistics. Moment of the season. Again, it's Lunty, it's the Blackburn away goal. Now, there's 2 other ones I think people would say was the Mill goal against Leeds, because Leeds fell apart. And also, obviously, Stoke away, where we went top of the league. But it was just having an international break. No one getting back. It's away on a Friday night at their place, 90th minute. The entire place, at least, I mean, the place was empty anyway, but the entire away end was bouncing. That moment was great, and I think that nothing will really top that for me, really. I don't think, not this season anyway. On clubs, what the club have done this season with Castro and everything like that. I mean, Castro as a kit provider is a good improvement. I do like that. It's a lot better than Nike. Every time I got washed my Nike kit, it would need to go back to the shop and get a new badge on it or whatever. The stadium, it had its roof sorted. I just like to keep on top of it. I don't want to see Deepdale turn into Old Trafford. I mean, I was in there the other night and it was quite sad to see. I mean, it's one of them where it's a historic ground and you don't want it to get destroyed. But the concourse food and stuff, it's alright. I mean, I only buy the pies, and they either come decent or they come burnt or cold. We've come decent more times than last season, so I mean, it's a positive. Hopefully they keep improving the service. The Gentry and the Bowler Hat Bar, they're expensive. I don't think I'd go often, but they're nice to have for fans that are coming to the game. They can go before and meet up. It's great for fans. On low, if the club stick with him, they have to back him. Personally, unless he has all the dressing room behind him, at least those that are going to stay and that are important, I wouldn't keep him. A comment that was weird to me was he was like, he wants leaders in the dressing room. He's been at the club for 2.5 seasons, 1.5 seasons. You know, he's brought in the likes of Ched Evans. You know, he's had Brown, he's had Whiteman. Who's Lindsay? Who's his leaders? I thought they were his leaders. And I know Brown's contract's up. I know Evans is going into a player coach role. But surely, if he wants leaders in the dressing room, he would have done that and he would have addressed that. Another thing that annoys me is him playing plays out of position. Right, last 5 games of the season where we didn't win anything and we didn't score, he played Brown at right wing back for a lot of them. And it's just one of them where it's questionable decision making. I don't know if it's stubbornness, I don't know if it's just naivety, because he's a young manager and he's developing, he's learning his craft. But I just don't get his stubbornness of when everyone's calling for a right wing back, and I know I don't have my coaching badges and I've not done a lot for the game, but when you're trying to play a system where it needs a right wing back and you don't have one, there's problems. And I know he's developed Potts, and that's another captain role leader in the dressing room you should have. I know he's developed Potts into a decent right wing back, and you know, I've seen online not long ago that Love hadn't developed anyone really well, but I'd say Potts is the one player he has developed very well, alongside Archer and Cannon. But I don't know. I just don't understand the decisions he makes, and I know I'm not in his position. I don't see the players day in day out, but it's just an element where I just don't understand it, even from an outside point of view. So if the club back him and they trust him and they're in it for the long haul, then yeah, keep him, because the club should know what's going to happen. However, if the club don't back him and don't fund anything this summer and get rid of him now and get someone whilst the market's open for a new manager, we've just seen Hull's manager be sacked, Norwich just sacked their manager, David Moyes is free. That's hopeful thinking, but it's always worth a question, isn't it? Always worth an ask. We've just seen, we've seen Hull get Carvalho from Liverpool for half a season. Anything's possible. But yeah, on a whole, the season's it's not been great in playing, but it's not been awful. There has been times where it's been really bad, and like last game of the season, I got asked when was the last time we won. But hopefully next season is our season where we finished 9th.
There is one supporter who preferred to share their thoughts over a message, and I will read them for you now. I would say this is hard in one sense, it was, and in another it wasn't. With our budget we did quite well, and also the injuries we got. However, some of the football under Law has been poor to watch, and we should have done better, and losing 5 games in a row without a goal is unacceptable at any level. Number 2. What needs to be done this summer? I would say that the defence needs strengthening first this season, as personally I don't think they're all fast enough, and in the Championship this season we have seen it has punished us in games. Also, I think we need another left wing back and a right wing back. Obviously, another centre mid if Brown leaves, and a striker to enable Stewart to get a loan somewhere. I feel a season loan would do him the world of good and give him more game time and minutes under his belt. Number 3. Who was your player of the season? My player of the season has got to be Mads. It took him a little while to get used to the Championship, however. I have seen what he can do and he's been fantastic. There has been games where he's gone missing, but that does happen though. However, his ability to make something out of nothing and his passing at times has been fantastic, and I feel he'll only get better. Number 4. What was your favourite moment this season? For me, it has to be beating Blackburn away 2-1. The magnificent goal from Brown, the fantastic diving header from Lindsay in the last minute of the game was superb. The limbs in the away end were crazy. Number 5. Was you happy with all the new things introduced? I haven't been in the new bar yet, so I can't comment on that. However, some of my friends have been and said it's reasonably priced and is a nice environment. I like the new Castor kits, a lot better than Nike and much better quality. Number 6. The last question, your current stance on Law. The last question is tough, as I back Law and I want him to do well. However, I don't think he is the right man to take us forward, and this wing-back system just doesn't work for me. His stubbornness to change this has cost us in games, and will, unfortunately, I don't think that will change, and I am writing this even before we have signed any new players. Reading the statement from Craig Hemmings, it doesn't sound like he's going anywhere anytime soon, and I do respect Craig's views, and I am grateful for the Hemmings family continuing to put money into the club, as if it wasn't for Trevor, we may not have a club. I also think the Law situation will all depend on whether this takeover rumour is true, as if a new owner came in, they may want someone else in as manager. Anyway, whatever happens, I'll always support our club. Managers, players, etc. come and go, but us supporters will still be here when they are gone. Thank you again for letting me do this, and hopefully we can have a successful 24-25 season. Up the fucking Whites. Alright, thank you to all those people once again for coming on to share their opinions. We've had some of those lovely people on the channel before. And yeah, thank you for being a part of the journey and the very last one when it comes to Supporters Discuss. So, with that boxed off, it's time for me to share what I think of the season, answering the same questions that I asked those guys. So, was the season successful? Now, this is always a controversial question, whether or not I ask it on Twitter or through these, medias. It's always controversial because people have different ideals of success. Of course, we had a lot of good moments throughout the season. Of course, we was top of the league for about 2 weeks. We was always floating in and around the playoffs for a while until, of course, December-ish roughly, when our bad spell continued and everyone else got out of a rut and caught us up. There was a little bit of spark towards the end of the season again where we could have potentially squeezed it, but we didn't. And of course, losing our final 5 games of the season was disastrous and placed us in mid-table where we are always fated to be. So under that notion, it wasn't exactly successful. We finished 10th, which again is a top 10 finish. Granted, it is better, but it's not. It's not exactly. It's not ideal because when you had the opportunity that you had to finish a lot higher, you'd think that you'd do better and continue on and potentially place closer to the top 6, but it wasn't meant to be, unfortunately. So, under that notion, no, it wasn't successful. It was close to being something successful. Anything like that's above, I'd say 8th is successful, but as it goes, yeah, it's a slow but steady improvement, but it's still leaving more to be desired. What needs to be done in the summer is a massive question, as there's a lot to do, simply because we have a lot of, speculation going around, Alan Brown. We've got things going on with Chad Evans now, who is, as of the recording anyway, has agreed in principle to become a player coach. I know, like I said about Brown, he's being offered every contract under the sun now, and he's got the most generous offer ever in his career from us, not any other club, so it's down to him. Lewis Lee's being offered a contract. There's players that have been released, such as Ben Woodburn. And we do have constant, and I mean constant, injuries within the squad, which led to our disaster of a finale of a season. So what needs to be done? Well, first and foremost, obviously, we're going to need a stronger squad. And that will include many. I'm going to put it mainly down to the midfield, because we do have, midfielders that are very versatile and can play in numerous positions. However, the way that they get utilised by the manager, we need actual wing backs, and we need midfielders that can play a more attacking role rather than a holding role. Because considering a lot of these players can play those kind of positions, nothing usually works out in our favour unless we play our stronger squad, which at the end of the season was injured completely. So we need to get strength in those numbers. We do have a good couple of strikers, but at the same time, there is no wow factor striker. We don't necessarily need one of them as long as we continue to improve our current strikers, so I'm not going to rule that anywhere, but I'd say maybe 1 or 2 more defenders will do. People are saying we need a new goalkeeper, but I personally don't think that's the case. Maybe we could bring in another keeper to challenge Freddie a little bit more, but not to replace him. But as far as that goes, it is mainly in the midfield we need to do a little bit of our work. And my player of the season is a difficult question, because of course you have players like Liam Miller, but of course he isn't our player. He was only a loan signing, and of course he's been phenomenal all season, but I don't know if I could give it to him under that notion, and especially towards the end of the season when things started to get a bit fizzly for him. Of course, Mads has been electric whenever he was on the pitch, but that is of course a situational one. But I think when it comes to consistency throughout the season, of course Brown's been there, McCann's been there, Lindsay's been there. But I mean, if I was to give it, I'm tempted to say Alan Brown because of how consistent he has been this season, but getting back to it, top Alan Brown. But at the same time, I'm probably gonna have to give it to Lindsay, Of course, there are moments throughout the season where he's had blunders and he let some silly goals through, like Rovers at home that he let a silly one through there, but you can't stop them all, unfortunately, but the ones that he has stopped, he's been a very clinical player throughout the season. He helped us see off that win at Rovers in November. I think Lindsay's been massive for us last season and this season, and he just continues to get better and better, so I'm going to have to I think I gave it to Lindsay last year as well, and it's well deserved. The guy's a monster, so yeah, I'm going to give it to Lindsay again. My favourite moment of the season, speaking of the big Scottish giant, I'm going to have to give it to Lindsay at Rovers. That was one of my favourite away days I've ever been to, beating Rovers 2-1 in that fashion. Lindsay scoring that last minute header, it was electric, amazing atmosphere all game. There's nothing more to be said there. Who doesn't love a last minute winner? Of course, we had some other good moments like Stoke away and whatnot, or Rovers at home even. But I think if I was to give it anywhere, I'd probably give it to that one. It was a fantastic occasion, great goal, and a great away day. What was you happy with what was recently introduced, such as Castor, the stadium maintenance, new concourse items, North End events, the bowler hat bar? I'd say this season, in terms of introducing new things, has been very successful. I'm personally a massive fan of the new Castor kits. I do think when it comes to the quality of the kits, they are nice, but what we are given compared to what the players are given, which I can speak about because I do have play performance shirts, there is a substantial quality difference in my opinion. But as far as designs go, they're amazing. In terms of the rest of the club shop, it's pretty lacklustre at the moment, and some improvement needs to be done in the lifestyle section, I believe, because I think that's something Nike did do slightly better. Same with the training gear. When it comes to, of course, prices of Castor, I am in the majority that say it's very overpriced. Of course, it is higher quality than most other kit providers, but at the same time, I'm not happy with it. I think it could be a little bit cheaper. But then again, it does fund the club. Craig Hemmings and Peter Ridsdale have gone on record to say that our contributions towards the club shop and things like that, they are substantial in funding the club as well as our transfer windows. So, all we can do is continue to back and buy, which is a piss take, but it is what it is, and I'm happy to support the club. Stadium maintenance, of course, we fixed the leaky roof, but there is a lot more that needs to be done. Upon walking past the stadium a couple of times this week, it's evident that it could do with a new coat of paint around the outsides and whatnot. We've got empty space where that gym used to be that's gone unused. It just could do with some general maintenance. I think they're on about swapping out the pitch and the bulbs and the floodlights, but I wouldn't think they're a priority massively, to be honest with you, apart from just general pitch maintenance. The concourse items such as the new food, like the serving curry, the pie deal, I think it was like a jerk chicken wrap, like something like that. There's been a good couple of new items and selections involved this season. Even though I've not had a chance to try any of them because they sell out that fast. But in terms of introducing them, they look amazing, and I'm sure they are very good. They're decent value for money for Footy's Grand, but we just need to stock a bit more of it because obviously the pies sell the best, so we've got to focus on the pies. But yeah, I think we could do with keeping them in. North End events, we only really had one thing from North End events, and that was the Christmas light switch on, which I thought was a little lacklustre. It was cool to see the manager and the players there for kids to get opportunities to speak to them and sign things and whatnot. The pop-up stores were cool, but the light switch on itself was a bit miserable, and I personally wasn't one for it. The Gentry bar, I will say, is not something that was introduced this season, but as it continues on, from what it was introduced as last season, I believe it was, I think it's doing incredibly well. It proves incredibly popular, and it's being utilised quite well. I know it's going to be open for the Euros as well, which will bring us some extra money. So yeah, I think it was a good idea, and the bowler hat pop-up bar is equally as much of a good idea considering how busy the Gentry bar gets. So yeah, all in all, I think it's good investments because North End fans can drink for England, so opening 2 bars is a no-brainer really. So yeah, fantastic fucking stuff, I think. And the big question is our current stance on Ryan Law. I think this should be Ryan Law's last season, personally. There were calls, from myself included, mid-season for him to be sacked because it was getting bad. And if we wanted to be in with a chance at the playoffs, after how bad it got, we needed a change and fast. And fair enough, he found the answer, but then towards the end of the season, that answer slipped away and it became a problem once again. Ryan Law is one of those managers that has potential to do really well, as he's proven in the past. But when it comes to this level of football, which is incredibly difficult, he just stumbles and he trips over his own 2 feet multiple times and doesn't learn from his mistakes, and that's a big fucking problem. Simply because if Ryan Lowe admits to more of his mistakes, he'd get a better backing from the fans. He'd, you know, be much more of a likeable figure. And when it comes to trying new things, as well as being, you know, too stubborn or playing players out of position or actually signing wing backs and whatnot, you know, instead of making these questionable choices, he'd also earn a couple of brownie points and help himself. Of course, he's a young manager and he's still learning, but more often than not, he finds himself shooting himself in the foot. So, for me, I say we're going to give Ryan one last chance, because a manager for me should have 3 seasons to try and show some decent improvement. And of course, I know when he first came in, it was supposed to be a long-term project, and that's what it is, and the results are getting better. Yes, we are finishing a position higher every season, but if it's going to take us, in that notion, if it's going to take us a bare minimum of 6 years to enter the playoffs, potentially that doesn't even mean winning the playoffs. It's concerning. Let's put it that way. It's a long-term project, but fuck me, we need, it needs to get a little better than that before people get frustrated. As long as we reach the end goal, it's good. But we have shown that we can do things with this squad and get to good places. So it's just a case of learning from that and continuing it on. Otherwise, we're going nowhere. But as far as it goes, there are my thoughts. I'd like to know your thoughts as well. You know, whether that be online, Twitter, comments, you tell me. But yeah, it's that is the end of Supporters Discuss, and this is not the official, but the end of the channel. I do need to make a final goodbye and whatnot, because I did say I'd do a separate video for that. You know, leave a couple of thanks here and there. But as far as it goes, content-wise, like I said at the start, this is the last time you'll see me when it comes to talking about Preston North End. I'm pretty sure. So I'd like to thank you all once again for an amazing 2 years, and I will see you whenever the channel gets revived, if I decide to continue things, or if you're interested in music. I do have a second channel which is always displayed at the end of the videos on the cards. So yeah, go check that out if you can't get enough of my shitty northern accent. And yeah, I will see you all sometime in the future, I'm sure. Take care and have a wonderful life. Come on the Whites.